Hello, wonderful universe. It's Jennifer here at Eureka Astrology and Healing. And today we are going to be talking about the Capricorn new moon. The Capricorn new moon is December 23rd, 2022 at 4:16 a.m. Central Standard Time. And this, of course, is an astrological forecast for the new moon. But I do want to talk about some of the astro notables because this is just one snapshot, right, of the planets, the energies, and I want to do a little bit of mentioning about the things that are going to be happening a little bit before and after that I want to just make a quick mention for as notables because I think they're going to be affecting us throughout this whole time and moving forward after this new moon. The first one is we are in cardinal energy, and so cardinal refers to one of the modalities, and just think of it as an energy, right? So cardinal is affixed to the signs that start the seasons. We've just started winter here in the northern hemisphere. And so these cardinal signs, again, want to start things, move forward. We just came from the mutable energy largely, and that was more of being able to adapt and change and shift. It doesn't mean you had to start something. It was just trying to kind of like figure out how you're going to get to the next place by changing what was already happening. This is the start of something. There are, of course, 4 planets and then the sun and the moon all in cardinal energies. So we might feel like we want to start something right now, but as I get into the forecast, you'll find out that you may get a little frustrated as you try to start these things because there are some planets that are going retrograde that may make you feel like you can't quite get it going right now, but that's okay. Things will change as they always do. Another notable is that on the 20th December, Jupiter moves in for its final time into Aries for this cycle. It went back into Pisces, kind of revisiting the dream, and now it's like, okay, let's go. Let's get things done. Wants to move forward. Again, it's more of that like forward motion, getting things done, starting something, maybe ending things. You know, it's Aries. Aries likes to sever. So again, more of that kind of intense feeling of trying to take care of business. Then on the 29th of December, Mercury stations retrograde. And it's going to be in Capricorn. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. But again, rethinking, as everyone knows, so because it's Mercury and it deals a lot with thought and perception, and communication. In Capricorn, it's going to be a little more serious and stern and maybe trying to figure out what it needs to redo as far as what it was kind of building and committing to and like the longer goal of everything. And then the final thing that I want to talk about is, of course, okay, it's a new moon. So we have the sun and the moon together side by side. It's 1 degree Capricorn, but we also have Venus, our desires, Mercury, our thought process, our communication process, and Pluto all in Capricorn. That's a pretty weighty season. It's Capricorn season for sure. And so what does that mean as far as energies and what we may be feeling at this time? So one, on a heavier side, okay, just heaviness, restriction, like, oh, things are getting taken away from us, or, oh, we have to cut back right now. But this is an important energy to honor. This, like I said, in the northern hemisphere is winter. It gets cold. It makes us pull in. We have to cut back, to slow down, to reserve. And it seems like things are getting taken away from us, but it's really like the things that need to go. It's kind of a higher vibration of almost Scorpio, like, oh, well, this has got to go. Even though you might want to eat that food, like it's gone bad now, right? You didn't have a refrigerator, you know, back in the old days, if you didn't preserve your food right and it went bad, like, oh, it's gone. What are you going to do to get through this hard time? It reminds us that things are not always abundant. It may be energetically, but not always in the material plane, right? Capricorn's very material. So it might feel a little bit heavy and restricting, but what I also think of as it's consolidation, resting, reserving. And that's what winter does for us. It pulls us in, it slows us down, and it assesses what we need, right? And sometimes we cut the things that we don't need, or it just leaves us. It's taken away. But what's positive about this is it gives us endurance, it gives us perspective, but also gives us reserve to go forward in spring and in the summer, which is really necessary. If you continue to burn hard as you do in the summer, or in the warm times, right? Running around, staying up later, doing more things because you just have that energy because the sun is charging you, you will burn out. Things burn out. And it's trying to tell us like, hey, you got to pull in and slow down. So on the positive side, we might be slowing down. You might not like it, like I said, because there's cardinal energy and Jupiter has moved into Aries, but rest. Please rest and, let that energy consolidate. A quick note. So this moon, again, it's a new moon, it's a young moon, it's an early degree. And it's just something important to note that the moon isn't comfortable here. It's the emotions, right? The moon are hard to express. They may not even be acknowledged because it's like, well, what do emotions have to do with any of this? Like there's practicality, right? Let's be practical here. So people may not wanting to really acknowledge their feelings about situations and want to do more of a problem solving or just kind of ignoring them completely. So try not to ignore your feelings, but also if you're feeling super emotional for whatever reason, maybe you should be like, I need to get practical about this and pull back. With that, let's go into Raven Collider's name for this moon. Again, I love the book, Moon Phase Astrology. Every moon has been spot on and I just really connect with it. So I think it's really important to bring up because it helps tell the story of the energy of the time. And the name for this is the Forgotten One's moon. Sounds pretty heavy, right? Like I said, the moon does not like to be here necessarily. And so I also kind of thought that this was, I was reading it, really linked in with the forgotten child archetype. And so the story goes that, think about a child who seems at the time, a younger child, unremarkable, right? They don't stand out because they are not shining their bright light, their talents. They are also not acting out and demanding that attention of, rebellion. They're just kind of doing their thing, slow and steady, right? Very Capricorn. And so then that child feels overlooked, undervalued, underestimated, and they just don't get seen. And that can be really frustrating, right? Like think of, again, so Capricorn ruled by Saturn, there's sternness, but there's also kind of a heavy melancholy, a sadness to it. And you can see how this could attribute so that we may at this time be overlooked and underestimated for the things that we've done and we're doing to create something bigger, right? So that's the first part of this archetype. And then as we talked about Saturn, cold, restricting, again, we talked about earlier, the emotions kind of being pulled in or ignored, and just a sense of heaviness kind of coming down on us. And in the story of this child here, as we're talking, just metaphorically here, what happens with being overlooked over time and being ignored is that this child's heart grows cold and closes up. So this is a theme. Where have you potentially closed your heart because you've been overlooked and ignored over and over again? And it closes and gets cold because it's getting really protecting itself, right? It's like, I don't want that hurt one more time. I'm done with it. So this is a really good time to review where maybe you're closing down and just shutting everybody out. Because, it's really good to have an open heart to let love in, because over time, that cold heart just isolates you and becomes very, 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 very hard. But on the plus side, like I said, I know it's a little bit of a heavy moon and a very heavy description, but what happens is that in this child, there is something remarkable. There's ambition, right? There's this spark and there's this focus in them, and they know what it is. In this case, you know what it is. So at this time, is there something that's calling you that you've been called to do and kind of been ignoring, right? Pluto has awakened this for all of us differently in our charts. 2008 has been in Capricorn, shaking things up, changing things up. But where's your ambitions? Where do you want to move forward? Again, not fast though, with patience, determination, commitment. That is the gift of this moon. Really being able to just hunker down and not run, like peter out. Like, okay, we have right now Jupiter and Aries. That's just going to run flat. It's like somebody running so hard that they just don't even pace themselves. This is, as the Taurus, the hare, this is the tortoise, and it's going to win the race. So where are you going? What is that ambition that you want to nurture into something more? Because that's the energy here that is the true power and the gift of it. And it's, like I said, exercise patience and time, pardon me, and it'll pay off, and there will be astounding achievements and accomplishments. And that's the glory of Capricorn too, is that it will build that great thing. It will be awesome, and it will last long too. So what do you want to build that lasts long? That's a great achievement. This is a time to start that, look at that, and to express that. And the other thing with those other planets in Capricorn, we have Venus, our desire. I mean, Venus is not exactly comfortable there either, but Venus is getting real too. And it's like, all right, this is what I want and this is what I don't want. And, I know exactly how to get there, and I'm not going to waste my energy, waste my time. I'm going to do this. And as we talked about Mercury, thinking about it, trying to perceive it, and communicate it to others. And then the moon, feeling it, the sun is shining a light on it, all in Capricorn, trying to get us there. So I think it's a really powerful thing. So with that, let's move forward. Another little part of that story is that with this moon, it's time to acknowledge where we are powerless, where we cannot control or change someone, something, a situation, and just step back and recognize that our power lies within, and that we can change ourselves and how we perceive it, deal with it, and do that, right? Where is your true power? And also letting go of where you don't have any control of the situation. And let's go into the aspects now. Pardon me, I have a cold. The phrase, I'm going to do this on my own, I'm going to do this on my own, came into my head when I looked at this, all that Capricorn energy. I'm going to shoulder this on my own. I'm going to move forward on my own, even if it takes a long time. And then Jupiter is in Aries squaring this new moon, doing the same thing, saying, I'm going to do this, it's for different reasons, but because it doesn't want to wait. It's like, I'm going to just run, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to take care of business, boom. And so what's interesting about this, they're in square. Ceres is the asteroid of mothering and nurturing, is in Libra, is saying like, hey, but what about your relationships to others? To like, how do they help you? How do you need to help them, right? Don't just go running off or, shutting down and going into your own world. Make sure that you're still connecting, because those relationships will ultimately get you where you want to go, because no human is an island. It takes a village, as they say. So that nurturing aspect of relationships is really important to think about. And as we talked about, that cardinal energy is present. We want to move forward, and I'm talking about all this forward movement. But let's remember that Mars is in Gemini and is still retrograde, has been retrograde for a while. It's about to station direct, meaning start to move forward, and like we can start to finally get things done. But really right now we're still reassessing. And again, in Gemini, the facts, the information, our perception, are we really perceiving things right? Or are we telling ourselves like a little funky bit of a story? And the image that I got with this, I keep getting like relay races. I don't know if it's all this Aries energy, but I imagine that this, person in a relay race is almost at the finish line, right? So Mars and Gemini is trying to get it done really fast, ahead of everybody else. It was almost there, and then it was at the end of Gemini, but not quite. And it'd stop and go, oh, I never grabbed the baton, and I can't finish the race without the baton that was supposed to be passed off to me. So then, it went retrograde, it's going back, and it's almost back to the baton, back to the person with the baton, and it's still way ahead of everybody else. But it has to get that missing piece. Like, what did we drop? What did you drop back there? What did you not pick up at all? Like, what was that missing piece to help us move forward? And like I said, I still think it was going to win the race with or without, but you need to have that piece to officially win. So what part is missing in winning the race? I.e., in this part, what information particularly was missing to fully understand something, because it's in Gemini, or to communicate. I think we're going to be finding a missing piece as Mars stations direct in a little bit. But we're almost there, so keep gathering, keep reassessing that information. So there's also some more harmonious aspects in the situation. Just to make a note, Mars doesn't aspect anybody, so it's kind of like way just doing its own thing. Like I said, it's still going to win the race, but it's just not paying attention. And so we're going to feel like, I want to move forward, but with what? And then back into the positive aspects, or I should say aspects of the chart, is that Neptune is in Pisces and it's sextiling Mercury in Capricorn. So again, Neptune is the dream in Pisces, that huge, loving, connective dream. And how I see this is that with a little bit of work, if you can make sure you see that dream, because Mercury is trying to perceive there in Capricorn, this will help sustain us through the hard times of that new thing we're going to start. Because Capricorn knows there's going to be some hard times. Like when you start a new business, most of the time, it doesn't just go smooth for the entire business. You know, it takes sometimes commitment and work and foundation, and sometimes there's even loss. And then there's gain, you know, there's these ebb and flows, and this can be in anything, right? But business kind of can relate really well to Capricorn. So Mercury's seeing like, oh, there's the dream. I'm going to take that dream and keep it in my focus here so that when things get hard, I still see the dream and I don't get crushed by the weight of maybe some of the responsibilities that come from that ambition, that goal that we move forward with, which I think is really nice to not lose sight of why we started something and see what it could potentially do for the greater good. So keep that in mind. Also, Uranus in Taurus is trining Venus in Capricorn. And with that, I feel like, you know, Uranus is still retrograde, but it's that value that we found with ourselves, like valuing the earth, our self-worth, and resources is coming in and helping us with our desire to move things forward. Like, it's letting us know like what we can actually use to get where we're going. Like, and this can be a very material thing. Like, yeah, I realize that I cannot waste water anymore, that I need good soil to grow food. And all these very foundational things are going to help us do, again, that goal, that ambition that's kind of cropping up for us. So that's a really positive thing as well. And to wrap it all up, I got some quotes, but I want to just kind of say in general, the energy, like I don't want to say like we're not quite there in the grand scheme of the bigger race or the bigger project. We've been redoing and things have been shuffled and blown up and washed away, and the energy shifts have, you know, gone all over the place. And a lot of the planets right now are direct, but Mars is still retrograde, Mercury's going to go retrograde, but they're going to move forward eventually. And then also in the spring, Pluto is going to move into Aquarius. That's pretty powerful. And by that time, we're going to have a whole new energy and a whole new shift. It doesn't mean that it's going to be permanent and it's going to reveal all, but we're kind of wrapping things up here. So find that ambition, you know, reassess the things you want, make sure you find your value, although Uranus will be in Taurus for a while. And it'll pay off because we will want to get out the gate once spring comes. So do the work now. It's okay to rest and go in and do the legwork before you go out into the world. With that, I'm going to read you one of the quotes from Raven Colliers' book that he quotes for this moon. There's two that I find funny. One is, hermits have no peer pressure, and that is Stephen Wright. And Saturn, Capricorn, rules hermits. And so how you could take this quote is that if you don't go for the goal or ambition, yeah, you'll be okay, but you're probably going to be like Eeyore sulking around. If you get out there, at least you'll challenge yourself and really see if you got that endurance and got what it takes, right? Which will ultimately make you feel fully Capricornian, you know, in the sense. The other quote is, treat people as if they were what they ought to be, and you help them to become what they are capable of being. That is Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. And that's just saying, instead of overlooking people all the time, as we talked about in this moon, acknowledge people's gifts, even if they seem subtle and quiet and non-extraordinary, because they really are. Because someone who has the endurance and commitment to work through the hard times, that's a gift. With that, I'm Jennifer at Eureka Astrology and Healing. If you like what I'm doing, check out my website, eurekastrategy.com. I offer astrological readings, tarot readings. I do herbal consultations. I also teach classes. And with that, may the stars guide you and the plants ground you. Ciao for now.